This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry, that just distracted me. That first question that we'll ask, the candidates have 3 minutes to respond to that question. Doug is going to be our timekeeper when he is back here. And we'll give you just a little warning when you have about 30 seconds left, okay? We do want to kind of do our best to stay on schedule with the timing because we have 6 candidates, some questions we want to be able to get through. And then we have a question that was submitted by a member if we have to be asked. We have 4 predetermined questions that the candidates have.
You're breaking up.
Yeah. You, Sandy. I think it's somebody's phone is squeaking on my side.
Okay, let's be sure your phones are muted. Are we good? Everybody's muted? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So we have 4 predetermined questions, and candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each of those questions. And then the committee has a couple of questions that were not provided to the candidates ahead of time. And then, as I mentioned, I think we have 1 question from a member. So each candidate is going to be limited in time to respond to questions, as I mentioned. And the order of the questions being asked to the candidates will rotate. So in other words, the same candidate will not answer first each time. So that rotation will happen that way. If there are people observing that would like to submit a question through the chat, again, we might not have time to get to those questions, but you're welcome to go ahead and send one. And then we do want to try to keep on our time frame here, which is like not going so well so far. Excuse me just a minute.
Okay, I'll get back to you. I'm in a meeting for the association right now, but I'll get back to you this afternoon. Okay, bye-bye.
I'll do my best to time keep.
Oh, I've got it.
Do you have it? Okay, all right. How are we?
I should be in.
Okay. Todd, have you joined us? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. This is the question where each of the candidates will have 3 minutes to respond. I'm going to read the question and then call on the first candidate. If needed, I will reread the question. As I mentioned, these are questions that the candidates have already. So if you need me to reread the question, I will do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to read it once for the members attending. What does your experience bring to Yosemite Lakes Park Board of Directors for betterment of the association? And Sue, we're going to start with you.
Sue, is your mic on?
Is she talking?
Sue, we can't hear you.
Okay, somebody muted me.
Todd Benzie.
Are you there? Can you hear me now?
Todd Benzie in.
Yes.
Hey, Todd, just hold tight, Todd. Thank you. Go ahead, Sue.
Are we good? Okay, good. Yeah, somebody muted me, so sorry about that. So good afternoon. My name is Sue Beck, and I'm running for a YLOA Board of Directors position. Having worked for public companies for over 40 years, my experience brings a business and financial level discipline, open and active listening style, and taking action that is appropriate. I have led and mentored teams, worked as a team member, provided presentations to boards, CEOs, CIOs, business owners, and business stakeholders. I take pride in being diligent in researching my topics and carefully considering others' needs to ensure correct solutions are implemented. product evaluations are conducted, and consider financial responsibilities, ensuring operational excellence is achieved. My experience in all of these areas would improve in the financial, organizational, and communication efforts for the organization and the association. Providing a more detailed written strategic plan complete with project plans, promoting clear and transparent communication so that the association is better informed and able to offer their input and ideas or even their time. I'm also keenly aware that the continual dues increases are not sustainable for the homeowners. The continual burden to homeowners is not a good financial model. Essential infrastructure repairs we know need to be done, and ongoing maintenance needs to be planned for. But the time for nice to have or nice to do is not now. It is for the betterment of the association if all members feel and are part of the change and improvements for Yosemite Lakes Park. All of us who live in YLP, I think, have the same motivation to live in a safe and affordable environment, have our home values improved, have our water and road infrastructure repaired, and maintain a safe and healthy lifestyle. Association members living on fixed incomes, young families, people who are having financial difficulties cannot sustain the dues year over year. If elected as a board member, I will provide every avenue possible to stop dues increases and find other alternatives for funding reserves. Thank you for your time and consideration in voting for me for YLOA Board of Directors position, and I look forward to serving you, and I'll yield my time back.
Thank you, Sue. Todd,
Thank
are you
you.
there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Todd. Just to kind of catch you up, we already kind of went over the agenda that the candidates were sent ahead of time. So you're next up to tell us about what your experience brings to Yosemite Lakes Park Board of Directors for betterment of the association.
Okay, yeah, I'm Todd Benzie. I have a background in law enforcement, military. I have a leadership position in law enforcement. I hold a master's degree from the University of Cincinnati in criminal justice. Essentially, in the prison system is basically a small community, somewhat like YLP. We had to deal with infrastructure, building costs, support, plumbing, septic problems, all these problems that we have in the association. What I'm bringing in is my interpretation, my ability to interpret and apply law. I'm familiar with insurance needs, et cetera. So basically, my position is I understand that the cost of the fees are very high. I don't want to jump in and say that I can absolutely guarantee that I can have them reduced. Of course, I want to save money too. I am concerned about the infrastructure. I'm concerned about our amenities. I'd like to look for other alternatives too. Maybe expand the use of the golf course. Apply some other programs like Frisbee golf. Maybe do some things where people like with low income, maybe they can apply for hardship through the association to have those particular individuals have reduced dues. I think there's a lot of alternatives and options we could have and look at. So I'm willing to look at anything. I want to come in with an open mind. Once again, of course, like everybody, with people on fixed incomes, and especially with the present crisis, I'm realizing a lot of people are suffering. And I think we as an association need to do something to help those people that are financially struggling. And that's basically all I have. I'll go ahead and yield my time back, because unfortunately I lost my notes. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Rebecca.
Yes. I believe in giving back and seeking solutions to the challenges facing our community and our association. For several years before I even thought of getting on the board, I attended budget meetings and board meetings and committee meetings. And I did this so that I would become familiar with the operation and the financial needs of this association and not just a business, but as this association, the needs of this particular one. As a board member, I attend regular monthly meetings, budget meetings, town halls, and various YLOA committees. Presently, I sit as a member of the ECC committee. I chair the finance and the governing docs committee. It's my honor to serve as the president of the board. Also, I'm very active in the Lady of the Lake. My participation in all of these provides an opportunity to hear the opinions and concerns of members across the association. From my initial attendance at various meetings 8 years ago and continuing today as I sit on the board, I bring a wealth of experience, knowledge, and deep understanding of the legal requirements, the infrastructure and budgetary challenges facing YLOA today, not of any other business. I am only worried about our association and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Kathy?
Hi, I just want to make sure, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So anyway, I have never been on to Yosemite Lakes Association board, but I have been on several boards in my nursing career. I've been a nurse for almost 40 years, and even 2 years before that, I was a nurse's aide. So most of my experience as a professional has been as a nurse. Some of the things that nurses do is that they follow policies and procedures. So the policies and procedures that we will follow as board members are our governing documents and also the Davis-Sterling Act. We also have to follow doctor's orders, state and federal laws as nurses. So I'm very accustomed to staying within the framework of state, federal, doctor's orders, and all sorts of laws that govern medicine. We also have standards of practice within medicine that we also have to follow. Leadership-wise, I've been involved in leadership as a nurse. I've been a nursing director of a large 5-story nursing hospital in Fresno. I've also been a charge nurse of medically complicated patients. I've been a nursing director of a home health care agency. So I've been involved in various different levels of leadership. And I also currently teach leadership at our nursing school. I'm finally having time to be involved with the board because I've been working full time up until 6 months ago. And finally I am retired, just working a little bit part-time now. I do teach leadership and different types of leadership styles, communication styles, and how to work with other people. But my most important qualification, I believe, as working as a board member is the fact that I've lived in Yosemite Lakes Park for 29 years. I've loved living here. I love the people that are here. And I think I understand the people and are really the people that live here. Most of the people, our average income is somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a year, household income. So the ever-increasing dues has been a problem for some people. I've even noticed that some people have said they've thought about moving out because of our dues increasing so much. The average price of a home in Yosemite Lakes Park is somewhere in the $300,000 range. So we're not a real expensive town. So my main goal is fiscal responsibility, trying to keep a hold on our dues, not raising our dues excessively. And I think I heard a time for me. So I'll get that back.
Thank you, Kathy. Randy?
Hi, my name is Randy Sachs, and I'm running for one of the open board positions. So my experience as a business owner, as a general manager, as a homeowner, and as a member of the community has taught me a lot over the years. As a homeowner, nearly all of my adult life, I've had to make decisions about finances, decisions about what is and isn't affordable, decisions about what does and doesn't add to quality of life and security. I think all of this translates into being able to communicate, to listen, to be financially responsible and accountable. Because really most important job of the board is to protect and manage not only our facilities and our common areas, but also our financial resources. After all, we're talking about your money and my money. I know that people have different opinions on what's important to them within the community. I know some people love the golf course, some people love the trails, others it's the restaurants. And I know that it isn't possible to please everyone every time a decision is made. What I think makes me a good candidate for the board is that I want to be creative with solutions and research all available options to work towards a decision that will do two things. One, enhance the quality of our life here, and two, keep dues at or where they are now. I think where they are now is a good spot for now. I don't want to see dues increase. We all want to protect our property value. It's the biggest investment most of us will ever make. We want to enhance the quality of our life in our community, and to do so without raising dues. I not only think that's possible, I'm excited to have an opportunity to be a part of it. For example, a lot of people are upset about the amount of money that gets spent on the restaurants. We might want to look at some other solutions. We might want to look at increasing the price of certain menu options. If you went out to dinner and the bill was $1.50 more than you're used to, would you not go out? Probably not. But if your dues keep going up, you're not going to be happy about it. There are ways, as any homeowner knows, to save money on certain expenses and allocate it to others. Those are decisions that are hard ones, but they can happen. I will work hard to make sure dues don't go up, plain and simple. There may come a time when it's impossible to keep them where they are, but I would need to be absolutely convinced of that before voting for it. My biggest job, if elected, would be to take care of your money. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken?
Okay, turn the mic on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. As an active board member and the vice president for the past 2 years, I have had an opportunity to gain detailed knowledge of YLOA's business structure and operations and the unique challenges facing our infrastructure. Yosemite Lakes Park is essentially a small town where we're self-reliant on almost everything. Everything regarding our infrastructure, from the roads to the water systems to the buildings, are our responsibility as a community to maintain. Since I joined the board, and along with the new GM, we have set a new path of improvement to every one of our business processes and procedures. This has taken a tremendous effort and many, many hours of discussion through the board and GM interaction and the hard work of our volunteer committee members. When I joined the board, I recognized that YLP is a diamond in the rough. What I meant is our potential to offer a unique living experience in a community with many desirable amenities and a beautiful environment. However, after many years of kicking the can down the road, the place was falling apart. Roofs leaked, dry rot was rampant, paint was peeling. We also had a huge backlog of uncollected dues and fees. And of course, the roads and water system are failing. All of this affects everyone's property values. And then there are issues of non-compliance with certain codes, which could create liability for the association and by extension to each one of our members. The board and GM saw these problems and have a sensible plan in place to address the issues. We have already accomplished much. The clubhouse refurbishment is almost complete so that it will be off our plate of things to do. We've initiated a past due collection system, which has netted us thousands of dollars in revenue. Our GM spent many, many hours researching how we can cost effectively repair our roads. At the board's direction, we are now acquiring some very good machinery and technology, which will allow us to gradually get our roads in shape. We are making progress with our pipeline replacement project and hope to accelerate our efforts there. The process of learning about everything going on here has been an eye-opener. I've learned so much about our financial situation and processes, how the separate amenities are run, what it takes to repair, replace pipeline, road machinery, and our most important asset, which are exceptionally hardworking employees. Nothing here would happen without their hard work and dedication. These people have a vested interest in this place because most of them are our neighbors, and I thank each one of them. So I'm asking you for your vote for re-election so I can continue to help make YLP a better place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we'll move on with the first of the predetermined questions that the candidates had opportunity to review. Todd, you'll go first on this. The primary role of a director is to protect, preserve, and enhance the value of the association. Board members have a fiduciary duty to the association. If elected, how will you fulfill this duty? Todd, did we lose you? If you're still on, we can't hear you. Doug's going to try to connect with you. Let's go ahead and, Rebecca, would you go ahead?
Many people don't know what a fiduciary duty is. As a board member, my fiduciary duty is detailed in the Davis-Sterling Act as the duty of care and the duty of loyalty. I fulfill my duty of care by doing my due diligence, seeking information from our experts and consultants before making any important association business or budget decisions. It also requires all board members to attend and participate in meetings and enforce our governing documents, including our DORs and our bylaws. That is the duty of care. The duty of loyalty means acting in the best interests of the association, even at the expense of my own interests. Additionally, the duty of loyalty requires board members to stay informed on association business. I adjust my calendar to attend various committee and board meetings to stay informed. As president of the board of directors, I meet with the general manager to stay abreast of new legislation, new information about the association, and to help work on plans for the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Todd, I'm going to check in with you again. I understand you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Check your microphone. Okay, let's go ahead. Kathy, can we go ahead to you?
Sure. I was just going to say to Todd, if he's calling in on the phone, if you press *6, if he's calling in on the phone, yeah. But anyway, so fiduciary duty to the association. I like to remember that Yosemite Lakes Park is called Yosemite Lakes Park Homeowners Association, and that our fiduciary duty is to act on behalf of the association and also of the homeowners, and to act in their best interest. So what I've done as far as trying to find out what is acting in the best interest of the homeowners is listening to them, what they're saying about what their priorities are and what the priorities of the association should be, because the association is, after all, owned by the homeowners. So I've listened to the homeowners, and many of them have spoken to me, and not people I don't even know have come up to me and said, you know what, Kathy, I really think that taking care of the water pipes is top priority. Taking care of the roads is a top priority. But spending money on unnecessary items is definitely not a priority, especially when our dues keep going up. So yes, acting in their best interest, following the laws, but also listening to the homeowners, acting on what they feel is their priority. And anyways, that's it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Is that you, Todd?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. Great technical difficulty. That always relaxes me. Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to go ahead and answer the first predetermined question for us?
Okay, and that was the one on the what I was going to do for protection of the assets.
The primary role of the director is to protect, preserve, and enhance the value of the association. Board members have a fiduciary duty to the association. If elected, how will you fulfill this duty?
I concur with a lot of the other people, and I do agree with what Kathy was saying as far as the water. I think ultimately the water repair is critical to our value of our property. Even if we have some potholes in some of the back roads, I think it's something that we patch on for a while. It isn't a high priority. And I do think that we have to make the park affordable. But and let's face it, all of us bought here because when we drove through with our real estate agent, we saw the restaurants, we saw the golf course, we saw the lakes, we saw the tennis courts, we saw the pool. We thought, wow, this is really great. We don't have to buy all that stuff. You know, we have a place to eat. We don't have to drive up to Course Gold. The things that made me buy here, I want to protect. But the things we have to have, water, first is priority. Those pipes need to be fixed. I don't know how many of you guys get dirty water on a regular basis, but I know a lot of homeowners do, and I do. I just had to flush my lines again twice last week. I think water is our highest priority. I think we should, you know, throw everything at that. Roads are important, but as I said, I mean, I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and, you know, a lot of our roads were dirt. You know, we fixed the potholes, took out the skid marks in the fall. And I'm saying, like, I don't think roads are a super high priority. Like, I live on a cul-de-sac. I'd like, you know, my road has cracks in it. There's grass growing up in it. I mean, I don't like it. It's not, when we first moved here, the roads were beautifully perfect 25 years ago. The kids could skate out there. They could ride their bikes. Then they came in with the tar and put down the rocks. We weren't happy about that, but we lived with it. And, you know, understanding the cost of repaving of roads is, you know, like I said. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Randy?
Okay. So this is a big one, obviously, the fiduciary responsibility of the board. The main responsibility of the board is to keep the association on solid financial ground. This is a duty I take very seriously. As I stated, I don't want to see dues increase, but I think there are ways we can save some costs. I think there are ways we can spend more efficiently on some things to focus on priorities, as other people have said as well. There may be some things we can put off for a while and divert that funding somewhere else. I would need to look at it, but not everything is going to get done at once. That would simply be too expensive. So there may be some creative situations where we can move things around a little bit and still make progress, but make sure that we keep the association on solid financial ground without having to raise rates. I think when we go back to homeowners every year and ask for more dues increases, there are a lot of people that can't afford it.
You have 30 seconds left, Randy.
That's all right.
Okay, we're good. Just a reminder, when Doug is going to notify you when you still have some time left. So that's when he's giving you the 30-second message, it doesn't mean you're done. Just to give you kind of a heads up. So let's see, Sue.
Oh, Ken.
No, Ken?
No, we're doing random. Now it's random.
No, we're going
Oh, sorry, Ken.
third one down.
Well, this was random in the first place.
Yeah.
My turn.
Yeah.
So my interpretation of fiduciary duty is a promise. It is a promise and a legal agreement that you will work for the association's best interests, to follow all applicable laws and our own CC&Rs. The prime directive here is to do all we can do to prevent any costly legal actions as a result of our actions or non-actions. As a board member, I take this seriously and worked with my fellow board members to give careful consideration to any actions that we take to make sure we are in compliance with all legal tenets. We also consult regularly with our lawyers to get the best opinion on how to proceed. This is a serious personal promise that we make. We sign on the dotted line, and we take a pledge to each other on the board that we perform our duties at the highest level of ethical conduct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, Sue.
Yep. Am I unmuted?
Yep, we can hear you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. So again, I agree with what everyone is saying here is about this fiduciary duty being critical. The fiduciary duties of the board and board members are paramount to the association, because it is the responsibility of the individual board member and the board as a whole to execute this financial responsibility in good faith, with good judgment, without conflict, and by always putting the association's interest above their own. The association is trusting the board to spend their money in a prudent and fiscally responsible way. The board acts as a whole unit in unison and should have many, many discussions around fiduciary interests of the association, taking into account any comments from the association. And I know we're talking a lot about dues, but that's where it really hits everybody in the pocketbook. The key element in the financial responsibility and my duty as a board member is to work with my fellow board members to prioritize where the money is going. Infrastructure repairs being key and essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Rebecca, you'll be first on this one. Davis Sterling governs common interest developments in California. What is the purpose of Yosemite Lakes Park Association's governing documents?
Well, the association governing documents, we have four main ones, which are the DORs, which are regulations, our articles of incorporation, our rules and regulations, and bylaws. And these describe how the association is to run, and it tells what the role of the board is, and it sets out voting rights and procedures. The documents explain the association's authority as well as the association's obligation to the membership. These documents generally follow the Davis Sterling Act, which is the state of California law covering the operation of HOAs. As the Davis Sterling Act changes, the board must amend or modify our rules and regulations to meet these changes. What is so important is these are what rules the way we proceed. We cannot just willy-nilly do what we want. We have to follow the rules that are put before us. And that is very important to protect us from legal proceedings that might come from us not following those rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Kathy.
Hi. So Yosemite Lakes Park and all homeowners associations are regulated by laws. We're regulated by governmental laws, federal laws, state laws, the Davis Sterling Act, and we're also regulated by our CC&Rs. Our CC&Rs are there, and the Davis Sterling Act is there for the protection of the association and also for the protection of the homeowners. The association's responsibilities are to maintain our amenities as stated in our bylaws, and that is the main purpose of the board and the manager, is to maintain our amenities as stated in the bylaws. According to our bylaws, our amenities are things such as the stables, the tennis courts, the pool, the golf course, the lodge. Back in the old days when the CC&Rs were written, the clubhouse was called the lodge, but we are
3 seconds.
Oh, sorry. We're regulating these things. That's it.
Got some interference there, did we? Are we good? Are you good, Kathy? You done?
Yes.
Okay, I think we lost you right at the tail end there. Okay, Randy.
Okay, so this is basically a legal question, but for simplicity's sake, think of the Davis Sterling Act as a foundation on a lot. You still need to build a house on it, and that's the reason we have governing documents. And while the house has to conform to the foundation, there are a lot of options after that. The house can't be bigger than the foundation. It can't be a different shape. So basically everything that we do has to be in compliance with the Davis Sterling Act, and of course also California law. For example, we can't say to the homeowners, you can't have pets. That's in conflict with the laws in Davis Sterling. We can, however, have a leash law. So there are regulations that we can have as long as we do not go in conflict with those laws. I think the most important thing to realize is that everything the board does, every action we take, and some actions that we don't take, have to be in compliance with those laws.
30 seconds.
And we want to avoid lawsuits at all costs, obviously, because it's throwing money away. So that's why Davis Sterling is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken?
Well, it sounds like everybody has done their homework on the Davis Sterling Act. Yes, it's true that it's a Common Interest Development Act. It governs all HOAs in California. And there are CC&Rs and DORs are an extension of that, which we adjust to our, unique community needs. These rules apply to every homeowner in the development and are part and parcel of the agreement we sign when we choose to move here. I've unfortunately seen some comments by people who disagree with that, and that's unfortunate because it causes a lot of friction. It's there to set guidelines so that every member can have an expectation that the community and the amenities and the environment will be at a better level than what you would get in a typical rural town. So, part of what we're doing on the board is trying to follow that agreement that we have with the homeowners. And it's a big job. So I'm hoping that people can be reminded that, that's part and parcel of moving to a community like this. Anyway,
Thank you, Ken. Sue?
Hello?
Sorry, I muted
Hello?
myself on here.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. So the purpose of the YLP governing documents are, like Ken said, did their homework and to comply with the HOA's rules, regulations, their article of the bylaws, CCRs, and there's state law. Each board and association member should know the sections of their state law that apply to HOAs for California, the Davis Sterling Act. It is, I think, our job as a board to educate our association members on these governing documents, because I think if homeowners knew some of the articles in Davis Sterling, they would understand why some rules and regulations are the way they are. Because I, for one, had never lived in an HOA community till I moved to YLP in 2016. And about a year later, once I started to pay real attention and reading Davis Sterling information, it was quite eye-opening. So every development is different. The governing documents, as Rebecca said, typically are the articles of a corporation, the bylaws, CCRs, and rules and regulations. So there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Todd, are you still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Oh, great. Finally. Okay, yeah, in the Department of Corrections, if you read my statement, basically, that's what my responsibility was in the department, was we would write clarification memos to clarify the higher laws. Like the Sterling Davis isn't actually the highest law. Sterling Davis must comply with the higher laws above it, such as penal code, case law. So the same thing with the Department of Corrections. When we wrote clarification memos in regards to our department operation manuals or our CCRs, which I had to generate, basically it was just more or less to clarify and give clarification to what the actual CCRs allowed us to do. We couldn't change or challenge any of the CCRs or penal code or the case law. But each level had its own degree of things. Like Sterling Davis can be overruled and changed by case law or penal code or by administrative congressional acts at any time. So, but basically, what our thing is, we have to comply with that because that's the higher level of law than anything we generate. So the only thing we can do is write clarification guidelines within that what is said within Davis and Sterling. So actually, we cannot violate it, or otherwise be held for that. So all it is it's a law and rule we must stand by, and we can only write clarification and operate within the guidelines of Sterling Davis, as I understand it. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Todd.
Did you hear me? Mm-hmm.
We did. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next question. Kathy, you'll go first on this one. Ensuring the association is in the best possible financial state is an important part of being a director. What are your thoughts on the importance of reserves and the status of our current reserves?
Well, according to the packet that we got mailed out to our house recently, our reserves are we only have about $602,000, which means that we are definitely underfunded. So one of the things that I would like to do to increase our reserve funding is not to increase the dues, but to move some money away from some of the expenditures that are upcoming. Some people, well, in our new packet, it says that the contingency fund, and I don't even know if you can do this because this is a budget that's already been approved, but I'll say that I would not have approved of the budget as it is. Contingency fund for this upcoming year is supposed to be at $284,000, something like that. No, $244,000 contingency fund. That's an increase from last year of $185,000. Instead of increasing the contingency fund, what I would have wanted to do is put that money into the reserve fund, increasing the reserve fund by $69,000. Also, in the budget report that we recently received in our packet, it says that $300,000 would be put into a reserve fund, but then $225,000 would be taken out of that reserve fund and spent on remodeling the Fairway Cafe. The reserve funds are supposed, I almost said, anyway, reserve funds are supposed to be limited to things that are required. Yeah, okay, I can stop.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Thank you. Randy.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute my mic. So obviously reserves are critical, just like they are in your household. If your car breaks down and you only have enough money to pay the mortgage and the utilities, how do you fix the car? You need the car, right? It's even more critical for an HOA because when something breaks in an HOA, it affects a lot more than just one household. So for a very long time, our reserves have been almost non-existent. Obviously, that had to change, and our reserves are better now than they were last year. And at the end of this fiscal budget, they'll be better than they are this year. So I definitely think we're on the right path, and we have to keep at that and keep putting as much money as we can into reserves. The option, if you don't like that, is to do a one-time assessment, which not only would be really, really difficult to get a vote on, also, I don't think anybody really wants to. I don't want to do that, and I don't know anybody who does. So I think we're on the right path, and I think reserves are critically important, so let's keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken.
So, yeah, once again, it sounds like everybody understands the purpose of the reserves. And when I first got on the board, our reserve study that we had done by a third party was just a wreck. I mean, it wasn't worth the paper it was written on, really. Things were misstated, miscalculated, there wasn't anything useful there. So we're required to have this reserve study done every so often. And our latest one has been done also by a third party, different company this time, who meticulously went through our infrastructure and our assets and made suggestions on areas that need to be taken care of. And also, of course, like everybody else has said, that we're way underfunded, and we have a legal requirement to be funded at a certain level. So in case something does happen, we're prepared for it. And, I think what we're going through right now is a prime example you know what hitting the fan. So, the reserves are a top priority for the board now, and they should be in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Sue?
Hey there. So, in agreement with everyone, the reserve funds are critically important. Reserve funds are for specific purposes, which have been budgeted and planned for repairs or replacement. Like the reserve funds that we have in there for the FOS plan. Contingency funds are for unexpected emergencies or revenue shortfalls. So as I understand it, we have both. We have a reserve fund and we have a contingency fund. The association's not in a state of financial readiness for the current projects or emergencies. So putting money aside in a contingency fund versus reserves is troubling to me when the reserve funds are underfunded already. I don't even know what oversight contingency money is spent or allocated. I don't believe it needs board approval to be spent like reserve funds are, but we need to find other ways to infuse money into that reserve fund and think outside the box, raise the money to build a reserve and contingency funds if we have. Because we have current infrastructure pipe failures lately that's going to continue to deplete the fund. So we need to make some hard decisions very soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. Todd?
Yeah, the reserves are a very critical situation, and it's obviously that the history of past boards really let us down on that. And like I said, I've been here 25 years. And I agree, like infrastructure, as I said before, primarily the water. The water is something, and like the pipes are failing and they need to be replaced. It's a health issue as well, I think, having all this dirty water in our households. But the reserves need to be built. The options to rebuild those reserves, yeah, we need more options. I think some of the other options is maybe expanding the use of our facilities to raise more money. I think we could offer other options for our facilities, try to do things more in-house, have more people spend money here, and try to raise money through other means other than continually raising the dues. We paid dues a few years back that was supposed to fix the water problem, and the money virtually disappeared. The water problem wasn't fixed. That was years ago. And here it is again, and we're going to fix them again. And this time, we have to get the water fixed. That's just critical to me, and that's something I really stand firm on. It's for the health of the homeowners. It's for our value of our property. I think that's my priority on the board, at least from this point, being outside looking in and living here for 25 years, is I'm really concerned with our water situation. And the reserves, that would probably be number 2. We need money if something comes up and we have a major thing that happens that we need to deal with. And without the reserves, it's going to, there's a reason we're supposed to have those reserves, and we need to have them. So we need to figure out ways to get those reserves back up. Thank you.
Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca?
An HOA without adequate reserve funding is asking for trouble. Just as you and I set money aside for future expenses like a broken water heater or car repairs, the association has to be prepared for future replacement of our major components, which include our roads, clubhouse, vehicles, pool, spa, tennis courts, golf course, equestrian center, recreation center, restaurants, and maintenance buildings. A board of directors has a fiduciary duty to sufficiently fund a reserve account to meet the association's obligations for current and future repair and replacement of all major components. Sometimes a board promises not to raise dues while costs for the repair and replacement continue to increase. Soon, the needed repairs are deferred due to the lack of funds, which has happened in the past year. Currently, we find ourselves with our reserves significantly underfunded. With our adopted 2020-2021 budget, we have begun to address this issue. Without a commitment, financial plan to adequately fund our reserve account, deterioration of assets will continue and lead to declining property values. My fiduciary duty as a board member is to fund the operation and reserve accounts sufficiently to pay for our bills today and to plan for future repairs. Can't stop.
Time's up.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, moving on. Randy, we're going to have you go first on this question. A recent reserve study confirmed many assets of the association are in need of repair. A 2019 5-year Fix Our Stuff plan was proposed by the general manager. I'm going to reread that, sorry. In 2019, a 5-year Fix Our Stuff plan was proposed by the general manager. What is your opinion of the Fix Our Stuff plan, and how do you think we're doing?
So I had kind of the same question. So I scheduled a meeting with Jonathan, the general manager, and he was nice enough to meet with me for over an hour and a half, I think. And we talked about all of the things that are being done and some of the cost savings methods and ideas that he's researched and come up with. And I came away extremely impressed. I think the Fix Our Stuff plan is a great plan. We are even apparently ahead of schedule on it. And I think it's a great thing to do to get our stuff back in good shape. I think it's only going to enhance everyone's property values, and I'm a big fan of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken?
I want to compliment Randy on making the effort to educate himself. It's very true that Jonathan has spent crazy number of hours on this, along with the board, trying to figure out which is the best path to go fixing our stuff. We've got put together a comprehensive plan. It's sensible, it's doable, and it's going to show a lot of improvement. Now, we've already started on that. We've done a lot of little things that don't cost much that make a big impact, though. We've improved the clubhouse to preserve the value of the building. I mean, that's part of the job. Is we need to do that. That's the heart of the community there. It's an important piece of infrastructure. It's not just that either. It's the workings, the infrastructure that we care most about. The water, of course. We have a plan for that, and it's a workable plan. It's not anything, pie in the sky, big promises that we can't do. We can do it, but we need the cooperation of the community to support us in moving forward on these projects. So we're hoping that you'll see what we're doing and help us continue along the path of improving our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Sue?
Hey there. So, the FOS plan. So let me just a quick comment on the reserve study is essentially used to assess the current state of the HOA reserves and to plot a course of action for better funding, particularly for common area expenses and routine upkeep. Now, the water and road repairs is not a new issue and should be considered a #1 priority. However, I realize there's history in not putting that at the top of the list. Overall, I think Jonathan Penrose and his staff are doing a great job based on what they have to work with, and that means money. So the FOS plan is a good plan. Fixing the clubhouse roof, the AC, adding the ADA bathrooms, and I think the stables were done and repaired. And so those are monies that we don't have to spend future that can be put back into reserves to now continue with the pipeline and road projects, which again, I really am so concerned about that because it's a health and safety issue. So those things to me are a priority. And we have, again, broken pipes on locations of road that were already fixed, I think, 2 years ago. So I think we need to reassess what's happening on why are these things breaking. Are they new breaks or what's happening? Because if we continue to go 1 step forward and 10 steps back, we're just going to continue to underfund that association reserve every single time. So we need to work together on this collaboratively. Thank you.
Time's up.
Thank you. Todd?
Yes, I've had a chance to talk to Jonathan, the board members, and I was there at the presentation for the plan. Yeah, I love the plan. And at the time, I even loved the dues assessment didn't really hurt us. It was okay with me, but I'm coming into contact with people that don't have, aren't as blessed as I am, I guess, as far as funds. And so, that has me concerned. I don't want to see our seniors pushed out of the park, but at the same time, I want to see our stuff repaired, and I have no problem personally with the increase of dues in my house. But like I said, I think there needs to be we need to somehow address people that do have a problem and it hurts them with dues. I don't know how we're going to do that, but possibly raise funds somewhere else, make hardships for those individuals, maybe give them lesser dues, and people that have like businesses in their home more dues. But I love the plan. I'd love to have everything functional, running again, great. I'd like to have everything fixed. I like the new ACs. It cut energy costs. I bought a new AC myself for the same reason. Eventually it gets so old that the power you use, it's just not worth keeping them and fixing them. You're better off just getting a new one. And so, I think we as a board have a lot of work ahead of us. If I make the board and I'm fortunate enough to be on there, we need to come up with some hard answers. But like I said, again, of course, I'm sounding like a broken record. Water is a big priority for me. But beyond that, I don't want things falling over. That's going to take us 4 times the cost to fix down the road when it can be fixed more cheaply now. So we have some decisions to make. But I love the 5-year plan for myself. I'll yield.
Thank you, Todd.
Perfect yielding. Mm-hmm.
Rebecca.
Our GM developed a plan to address the decades-long deferred maintenance and our association assets, and he named it Fix Our Stuff. And the board members, including myself, did some due diligence, asking experts of every step of the plan. We investigated options, we investigated alternative projects during the several months of town meetings with public input, significant input from the finance committee and from the engineering committee that's made up of a very talented, motivated members and board members. The board eventually adopted the FOS plan, and the plan targets corrective and preventative maintenance and eventual replacement of our assets, which we have a fiduciary responsibility to do. Examples of the plan, as Sue stated, was the $15,000 that we saved by putting in the new air conditioning. That's $15,000 a year. $6,000 a year in annual maintenance and repair costs when we repaired the roof that was leaking terribly. With the resulting savings, we were able to lower the projected dues increase for the next year while still moving forward with a special plan to address these many assets that need repair or replacement. We have made progress in addressing the extensive deferred maintenance. Following the FOS plan, we can replace each item in a sensible and prudent manner, from first targeting items that reduce our costs or generate revenue. We fully support the FOS plan.
Rebecca, time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Kathy?
I support most of the aspects of the Fix Our Stuff plan. First and foremost, top priority, fixing the water pipes. After that, the roads. Last year, we spent $625,000 on the water pipes, and we've got about 1 mile of water pipe replaced with that $625,000. I'm hoping we can get things done a little bit faster, but I know our young men are working out in the heat, and that's a very difficult job. I think on our this year we have in our budget $650,000. I would like for our water pipes to get done a little bit faster, because 1 mile per year, that's 50 years from now, our water pipes getting finished. So I would like that to be get done faster. We spent over $100,000 on the clubhouse roof last year, and I don't know how much all of those new air conditioners and floor and new bathrooms and that stuff costs. I agree with some aspects of the Fix Our Stuff plan. I would not be spending $225,000 on remodeling the fairway next year because of the dues increase that is requiring. And I guess I'm out of time.
Thank you, Kathy. We're back to, sorry, I've lost that. Okay, we've gone through our 4 predetermined questions. The committee has come up with a couple of questions that we want to ask each of the candidates. And Ken, we'll start with you. Board members are expected to put in the time and effort to be fully informed on the issues and decisions facing the association. If elected, are you committed to serving your term, attending board meetings, special meetings, and committee obligations?
Yeah, I might. Retirement isn't like a plan, especially the last 2 years. It's been very busy. I've been working on engineering committees, well, up until because of the COVID-19 event. But yeah, put in lots of hours building the pizza kitchen, along with a bunch of volunteers. I've made some other improvements in the infrastructure projects. I've been investigating ways of altering power for our wells in case of a power failure, which has taken up a lot of time. You know, I'm want to move on to. I've been inspired actually, because now, as much work as I had put in before, I see that there's more to do, and I'm eager to move on and do more. So I'm hoping I'll have the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Just a reminder, if you're not speaking, please mute your phones. We're getting a little bit of feedback happening. Sue, we'll go with you next. And I know this question is new, so if you would like me to reread it at some point, just holler.
Okay, but I think I got it. It's about, you know, what time commitment are you willing to put into the effort? And first and foremost, let me tell you, I retired in 2019. I think it was in April. And I'm a bad retiree because I immediately volunteered to join the Madera County Grand Jury. I couldn't even stand to be home. So I'm a person that serves. When I make a commitment, I make a commitment. And I'm excited about the opportunity. I love learning new things. I don't want to ever stop that. Now, I will tell you, and this is not an excuse, but just tell you, I know how to manage my time. And I know how to work around other people's schedules. But with this COVID-19, the grand jury service was to end in June 30th. We've been extended per the Superior Court till December, but that's okay. And I do chair several committees, and I am the secretary on the grand jury. But we're kind of at the end of our report writing period. So I won't have any problem making a commitment. I never do. That's me. I commit and I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm actionable. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Rebecca.
I think my history shows that I'm a little overextended at times, but I really enjoy being on all the committees. I have made plenty of time to sit on. I've visited almost all the committees this year, except for equestrian. And I have also chaired or acted as a president of the board, which means just organizing and getting things all together ready for the board. The board does all the legwork and I'm organizing it and getting ready to present. I have more than enough time and I have dedicated a lot of time. And I've been dedicating it for over 8 years so that I know how the board runs and I understand the function of the board and how to work with everybody so that we can make progress. And I think this last year, the progress we've made is wonderful. But I do have plenty of time to commit. And it's what I enjoy. Like Sue says, I'm a bad retiree. I have to stay busy.
Thank you, Rebecca. Todd, I'm going to backpedal here because I flashed right by you.
Right. Yeah, plenty of time. I actually retired in 2009 at age when I was 50 years old because I'm a peace officer. But And even when I was a peace officer, during that time, I mean, I was raising 3 children. I found time to coach Little League, serve on a Little League board, coach soccer, which I know nothing about, but I still coached it. So now that I'm somewhat retired, well, I am retired. The only thing I do now is once, if there's a disaster, I go out on FEMA. I go out to FEMA and fly to disaster areas and do assessments on damages done by hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever. But that's like a couple months a year, usually 2 or 3 months. Other than that, I'm pretty much at home working on my house, doing home projects, and having my grandkids come over. So I have plenty of time to dedicate, and I'm willing to dedicate. I've always been, like I said, a hard worker. Even in the prison system, sometimes I'd work 5, 16-hour shifts because of situations. I'll put in the time that's needed to get the job done, to get the task done. I've never even thought second about it. Like I said, I worked full-time, raised 3 kids, got a master's degree, and coached soccer all at the same time. I like to stay busy and keep my mind occupied. I think if your mind's not occupied, it kind of gets a little bit slow on you. So it'll be interesting to learn some new stuff. And that's it. I yield.
Thank you, Todd. Kathy?
Mhm.
Yes, I also, like Sue, I just retired last year, and I'm also not a very good retiree. I'm one of those people who can't sit still for very long. So yes, in fact, I had to wait 6 months before I can go back and work. As soon as the 6 months was over, I went back and just signed up to work a little bit. But I have plenty of time. I am almost completely retired. I only work like 3 hours a week. And I just want to thank, by the way, all of the people who've been on the board in the past who are not retired, because those people served on the board, working full-time jobs, raising their kids, and I admire that quite a bit. Because as you see, most of the people that go to the board meetings and serve on the board are retired people, and they definitely have plenty of time to serve. And I'm very thankful that I have that time now.
Thank you, Kathy. Randy?
There we go. Okay, so obviously the short answer is but I'm not retired, I'm self-employed, but being self-employed teaches you a lot about how to manage your time and how to keep yourself motivated and how to prioritize things. Because if you can't do those things, you end up not being self-employed for very long. So again, the short answer is yes, I am willing to put in the time. I am good at prioritizing my schedule and making time for the things that need to be done. So I would not be a person who would come to a board meeting unprepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay. Another question for you. Although not required, YLOA directors are traditionally appointed to also serve on the YSPUC Board of Directors. This is an additional commitment to attend YSPUC board meetings and be informed on the issues and decisions of the YSPUC board. Are you willing to also serve on the YSPUC Board of Directors? And we'll start with Sue.
Yes. I'm very interested in that, indeed. And I am willing to serve on that board as well. That interests me tremendously. So I know nothing about water boards, and I think it would be a very interesting topic to understand because they can be complicated. And, you know, I was researching the YSPUC, and I thought at first it's a mutual water company, and then Jonathan corrected me and said, no, it's actually a public/private. And I'm like, I really want to know about this. So yes, I'm willing to serve. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Todd?
Yes, I might have mentioned before that I have a concern with the water in here. So not only would I be willing to serve, I would actually pretty much want to serve. I would like to see what's happening and how the water project's going. I try to keep track of it as best I can on mine. And I know some people who work for the water company, so I talk to them on a basis. Yes, I'd be more than willing and would be very happy to serve on that board. I'd like to see at some point to have the water fixed and working great and not have, you know, have perfectly clean water coming through our pipes every day. That'd be my dream. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Todd. Rebecca?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm more than willing.
Okay, Kathy?
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very happy to serve on the water board.
And Randy?
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Well, sure, go ahead.
How many people serve on the YSPUC Water Board?
There's 7.
7? Okay. And the approximate time commitment?
Typically, the YSPC board also meets once a month. I believe our meeting is scheduled for 1 hour. We haven't met the last few months with COVID-19, which is obviously a little bit unusual, but the time commitment for the YSPUC, in my opinion, would be less than YLOA.
Okay, then yeah, I'd be happy to. Again, water is something I think all of us are concerned about, and it affects all of us. So yes, I would be happy to.
And Ken?
Well, as the current vice president of the YSPUC, obviously willing to serve on it. I just want to make a note too to a lot of people about our water system. When I first came here, I had similar concerns, pipes breaking, never really had any experience with the brown water, but I took a big interest in going out into the field and talking to the people and watching the process of actually a break in the line, what it involves in replacing the line. What are the causes of the so-called dirty water? And, our well system, extensive well system, and it's a huge system. I believe it's worth, the replacement value would be about $75 million to replace our entire system if you started from scratch. That would be, bare ground, digging in the ground and putting new pipes in and everything. And I'll tell you something, the pipeline that was put in originally in this place is way substandard. Some of the techniques they used was just beyond me. So yes, I will continue to serve if I can.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we're going to move on to, we got a couple questions that came in from association members. And let's see, we're going to start with Todd on this one. The association budget has 2 major categories: daily operating expenses, such as payroll, utilities, insurance, general maintenance, etc., and capital expenditures, such as major repairs and replacement of fixed assets, like the clubhouse, the roofs, the roads, etc. Until recently, past boards have not sufficiently funded reserve accounts dedicated to paying for future long-term expenses. If elected, will you support funding of adequate reserves, even if it means raising dues?
If there's obviously, if there's no alternative, we'd have to raise the dues. My purpose and my idea is to hopefully work with board members to find out some way to stabilize the dues, maybe come up with more ideas to generate more funds, or some ideas to, put some cost off, which I know the present board, and I know Jonathan as well, I've been working very hard to try to defer costs and just deal with the essentials, but I would like to look at it again and hopefully put off raising dues. But if it's absolutely necessary to preserve the integrity of our infrastructure and our structures and our buildings, I would have to support the raising of the dues. I would hope, like I said, we could find ways to generate other means of income and not do that. And it would be not something that I jump on right away, like, hey, let's just raise our dues as an immediate fix. At the same time, I'm not going to throw it out of the window as an absolutely, definitely not thing either. I may have to leave my mind open and see what we're up against and make a more informed assessments of what's happening, what's going on, what we need, and how we can get there. I don't want our buildings falling down either. I don't want our roads falling in, and I don't want our water system broken. So we have to look at every possibility and every avenue. So I can't close my mind to any option. I want to leave every option on the table so it can be assessed. And that's my position. I yield.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Well, we do have two major accounts, which is operations and reserves, not capital expenditures as such. It's called reserves, and reserves are for all of our common areas. Like I said before, that includes your roads, your spa, your equestrian center, the recreation center. We have a fiduciary responsibility to repair and replace each item, including the cafe. The cafe is a central place for many of our older and shut-ins. They go there for their social and emotional and fun and get fed too. They enjoy eating there, and that helps with their health and safety because we all check in on them. It's so important to update that because it is such a central place for our community. Yes, we want to say we want to keep dues down. Well, the problem with keeping dues down for 25 years has been where we're at now. We're $2.7 million underfunded. The reserve study said that we need a huge assessment, and we said, no, we will find another way. And that's what the FOS is doing. We're finding another way to address the needs of the association, but we will have to raise dues as little as possible once we repair anything that reduces our cost or generates revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Kathy?
Well, first of all, I would have to receive a full budget report. The problem is that being a homeowner, when we go to the board meetings and when we, went online to the budget meeting, we didn't see a full budget report. So we really don't know exactly how our money is being spent. We see cost of service, what the budget is, what the, very basic things, but we don't really know details on how our money is being spent. We need to know that before we make decisions about how we're going to do it. Like I said before, I would not increase our contingency fund as is planned for this year. So if I have a say in that matter, I would not increase the contingency fund. So that I would put that $69,000 into the reserves. Like I said, $300,000 is supposed to, according to the budget report that we received, $300,000 is supposed to be put into the reserves and then taken right back out to fix the fairway. I would not be spending $225,000 fixing up the fairway. I would spend some money, but I would rather have that going into the reserves. I would also decrease the subsidies. We would have to stay within a budget and not constantly paying for overages in the budget. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Randy?
Okay, so we actually already talked about reserves a little bit, but not so much in terms of raising dues. So let's talk about that. As Kathy mentioned, this year there were $300,000 going into reserves and then $225,000 coming out for the Fairway Cafe. I think the Fairway Cafe is a reasonable expenditure. It is hopelessly outdated. There are things that are out of code. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. I think Rebecca is absolutely right. It needs to be done. But what that tells me is that next year, and this year's budget's already done, and the increase was very, very modest. What that tells me is that next year, that $300,000 or $225,000 going to Fairway Cafe can go into reserves. And it's my hope that that will happen, whether I'm on the board or not. I think as we get things back in order, we can dedicate more money to reserves without significantly increasing dues. There may be a small increase here or there. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken?
Okay, yeah, we touched on reserves and it's obvious that we're underfunded. What I was thinking about while listening to everyone here is that we have to put things into perspective. You know, when I first started, I had the same questions. I mean, why would we spend money here when we need it there? And after you've been, you really understand the scope of the work that needs to be done and the costs involved, and the amount of money that the association takes to run the association. You get a better idea of what's involved to fix things. You know, a good example is, okay, we have gotten beaten up repeatedly over the pizza kitchen, $28,000 or so. And people say, well, you should put that to the roads. Well, in reality, you get about that much a road for $28,000, or that much a pipeline, literally. I mean, it takes, if we were to have an outside contractor do a mile of road, it would be on upwards of $1 million for 1 mile. We're doing it for much, much less.
Time's up, Ken.
Okay. So anyway, I ask everybody to just try and put things into perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
Hey there. So I am adamantly opposed to raising dues again. I get that we're underfunded, but as Kathy said, I would need to see, or as a board member, I would want to see a line-by-line budget for both YLOA and YSPUC to see. I'm not educated. I don't have this information to know, you know, are we overstaffed in the HOA? Are we paying, you know, $1 million for PG&E, for example? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we need to look at. I mean, that's a tough question, but again, I am totally opposed to raising dues again. We're going to already get $1.3 million over the next 2 years. We've got the clubhouse done. We've got the stables done. Maybe we do a few little things here and there, but we then need to
30 seconds.
take off our thinking caps and think of some other way. I mean, 5% reductions across the board, whatever it takes. That's where we have to look at it right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, we have another question that came in, and we'll start with Rebecca on this one. I would like to ask all candidates, how often do you, I'm going to reword this, do you attend YLOA monthly meetings?
Is that the end of the question?
Yes.
Okay. I missed the meeting this year. I missed the February meeting because I was going to go on a wonderful trip to Europe that was canceled due to COVID-19. But I have been attending meetings for 8 years, only the last 2 years as a board member. But for 8 years, I have been attending regularly monthly board meetings. And that's where I learned to be familiar with the operation and the financial challenges that this association has. I've also been involved with committees and have not missed committee meetings for, I think, 6 years. It's important that you be involved to understand what this whole association is about. So yes, I have attended a lot of meetings.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just lost my feed, so I'm not seeing faces anymore, but as long as you can still hear me, we're good. Kathy, can you answer that question for us?
Yes, I've been to almost every single meeting for the past 9 or 10 months. There's one I did not go to. It was the end of December, right after Christmas. I didn't go to that one. I've been to several of the town halls. I've been to some of the budget meetings. I've also called into, I think, all of the Q&As. I've also watched some of the videos online of the board meetings that I've missed. Prior to this year, I only attended about one or two board meetings per year, but most of the meetings for the past year, yes.
Thank you, Kathy. Randy?
Okay, I can't give you an exact count, but I think I've personally attended 4 board meetings. I've watched quite a few of the videos that are on YLOA, and now since everything's been virtual, I've been tuning into those meetings and some of the Q&A sessions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Well, I don't want to scare off any of the candidates, but I have been to every meeting. I think I missed one in the last 2 years, and but there's much more to it. That's just not the meetings. It's the time that we spend emailing back and forth when we get an idea in the middle of the night sometimes, a lot of times, texting with Jonathan, texting each other. We've got an idea. Can we do this? Can we do that? There's a lot of behind the scenes work, folks, let me tell you. But once again, you get out of it what you put into it. So there will be times when it can be a little annoying, but that's the way it is. We've got to work hard to get a good result. Thank you.
Okay, Todd?
Yeah, I've been to some of the, a few of the meetings, not an exact number. I've been to try to make quite a few, been to the budgets. I've even done meetings with Jonathan and some other people, some like private meetings, probably 3 or 4 of those. Over the years, sometimes I don't go, my wife goes. We try to get down there, when we can. I mean, could I be more dedicated? Yeah, but I try to go and I try to keep abreast of what's happening. During the years I was working at the prison, and sometimes I worked late into the night, and sometimes I would teach college at night, so I wasn't available because I was teaching college. I used to teach night classes in criminal justice at San Joaquin Valley College, where I was the criminal justice program director. So I try to get down there whenever I'm available and that I'm around. Of course, now I have to make myself more available. But I like to keep abreast. I do watch some of the meetings online, attend some of the onlines as well. And I try to keep up with what's going on.
Okay,
I yield.
Sue, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear my name called. I'm here. How many meetings have I attended ever? Or in the last, well, I'll just say. So, as I said earlier, I wasn't paying attention when I first moved here. I was working, I was flying to Europe, I was flying all over the world. And then 2019 happened and I retired. So personally, I probably attended maybe 2 meetings. I was really excited that they were being streamed on the internet, and they took that away, and I'm sad about that because that's really a great way to if you don't have the time, and I'm talking about just other people in the community who don't maybe have a way to get to the meetings, because I'll tell you, I'm not driving to Madera every Tuesday to watch the Board of Supervisors meeting because they're all streamed live, even when it's not COVID-19. So, of course, if I'm on the board, I'm going to be at every single meeting, even if I'm not on the board this year, because I'm extremely interested. And even if I don't get on the board, I'm going to join a committee. So there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, let's start with Kathy. We have a couple more questions here. Everyone is talking about raising dues. What ways are you thinking we can do to reduce costs?
Like I said, first thing I would need is a detailed budget report, which, regular homeowners don't receive. I hope if I'm on the board that we would receive a detailed budget report so we can see where cuts can be made. Like I said, I would definitely decrease the amount of money. I mean, I know that budget has already been passed. I don't know if anything can be done about it, but I would decrease the amount of money that's planned to be spent on the fairway. Partly because the Fairway is a wonderful restaurant, so is the Blue Heron, but they are not named in our bylaws as being amenities. So I think the priority of our money being spent should be on the amenities, namely the roads, the water pipes, and all the things that are stated as being amenities in our bylaws. So I would not spend that money there if I had a choice. Again, I would not have the increase in contingency fund if I had a choice on that one. I also would want to make sure that we adhere more closely to a budget. Is that time?
Yeah, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, so anyway, I would adhere more closely to a budget. Some of the times we go over budget on some of the different amenities. I would, encourage those amenities to spend less money so they're not going over budget. Certain things go over budget routinely. So that's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Randy?
Yes. So again, we've kind of covered this already, but I do think there are some things we can do. I think there are some further ways we can save a little money on what we are doing. I think all of the things that we're doing under the Fix Our Stuff plan are important. And I'm excited about seeing that go forward and seeing things get in better shape, because I think that's very important. But as far as not raising dues, I think that there are a few things we could put off for a little while. There are a few ways we can move a little bit of money around. Once the budget is done for the year, it's done for the year, but within that framework, there are some things we can do to save a few dollars here and there. And I think that's basically all it would take, since we're already putting money into reserves. Thank you.
Ken?
So the things that we have done, and we have ongoing things that we have done to increase our reserves, we've looked at things and asked the question, can we save money? Example, we had a person, that we had to pay a wage to, and also, benefits and overhead to look over the pool while people were there. Well, we decided that we could use a access control system instead, which would unfortunately eliminated a job, but however, it saved us a lot of money. So those are the sort of things that we look at closely. And I have to give a lot of credit to Jonathan, because he is a very detail-oriented person and gives a lot of thought to these sort of ideas, and then presents them to the board, and the board goes over them carefully too. A lot of thought. And we try and carry through with that philosophy. So
Time's up, Ken.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. You didn't give him his warning.
Sorry about it. I forgot to give you your 30-second warning there.
My timekeeper's getting tired. Sue?
It's okay.
Okay, so again, we're going to have to find alternative ways to cut costs. If I'm on the board and I can look at a detailed budget or together as with my fellow board members, yes, we're probably going to have to make some very unpopular decisions. I mean, I'll give you a few of them. Some of the ideas I had were to review HOA employee positions and their pay scales and the overhead costs that we pay them. Consider reviewing outsourcing certain departments for cost reduction, renting out unused lots that are owned by the HOA, or rent out the rec center more, try to entice people, rent out the clubhouse more, but I know with COVID it's kind of hard to do, but other things, go green. How can PG&E utility costs be continued to be reduced? I think somewhere I read that with the new AC and the new roof, we're going to save a ton of money there that we hope goes back into reserves. Go paperless, reduce, reuse, recycle. We just have to think of creative ways collectively to reduce the cost, to increase the reserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Todd?
Yeah, I agree kind of actually with Sue's last statement. I think there's a lot of ways we can look at cutting costs, and also we might have to look at some ideas to raise costs. Like she said, renting out the rec center more and things like that, but I also think there's other things. It's like the golf course is primarily used by a small number of people, and they're like usually the elderly retired males. I think we can put things like maybe frisbee golf there, soccer golf, things where maybe families would come play more, make fees on that. We can add some maybe like water dispensing machine like Hillside has where people can come fill up their water bottles. I think there's a way that we can generate more revenue. Maybe have an alarm company, license that so homeowners can have alarms and have our security response to it and charge a monthly fee. I think a lot of people in the park would love to have an alarm system in their homes, especially with the present increasing crime rates. I heard somebody's car got broke into down at River Gold the other day. But I think we can look at ways to raise revenue, make more things available to the homeowners that we can provide them and have it like a service for. The pizza oven, like a lot of people did attack the pizza oven. I stayed silent on it. I wasn't really sure. And it turned out to be, at this point, it looks like it's going to be a moneymaker for us. So maybe some things along those lines that could help reduce costs instead of just merely raising fees to actually generate income with the facilities and amenities we have. I think there's a lot of unused and untapped potential out there that we can bring up and generate funds for the association. And I think all those things need to be looked at. It would be great if we could keep fees the same. Did I get a 30-second? Just kidding.
No, yeah, you did.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Todd. Rebecca?
Yeah.
Becky, are you there?
She's talking, I don't hear her.
Excuse me. There we go. I forgot to unmute myself. Jonathan put together an idea that the board grabbed onto, and it was called smart spending, and that we would spend to make sure that our return on investment was good. And that's what we've done when we decided what to fix in the FOS. We didn't just decide to do the golf course and the Fairway Cafe just because. We did it because there's a return on investment with that. We are going to get income from that. We always, as we made the plan, we sat there, where can we get some money from this? If we repair the tennis court first, there is no revenue coming in. But if we repair the clubhouse and bring it up to standards where more and more brides want to be there, more and more banquets want to take place, more and more get the ADA, so we get that off of our backs, the ADA bathroom. That was a smart spending. Putting in the new AC. Those are the smart spending things. That comes from our general manager who has a strong financial background, an MBA from UCLA, and he guides us and he lets us discuss it, and we find ways to save money. So these are important, that we didn't make these decisions willy-nilly. We put a lot of effort in finding a way to have a return on our investment. That is our #1 guide, or that will lower our costs. And that's what we've been doing with the FOS. I finished.
Thank you, Rebecca, just in time. Okay, I think is Randy first next time? Does that sound good? I've lost track, sorry. Okay, one last question here. The amenities don't break even, but our prices are low compared to nearby businesses. What will you do to adjust our pricing to meet market rates? Randy?
That's to me. Okay. So I think, again, I mentioned this earlier, but I think a very modest price increase in some or all of the menu items it might be painful to some people, but I think it's less painful than dues increases. a lot of people use our restaurants, and I realize right now it's takeout only because of COVID, but once that's over, revenue from the restaurants will increase. Now, costs increase as well because labor costs go up, but there's been a lot of talk about privatizing the restaurants, which I do not think is a viable alternative at all. The biggest problem, most restaurants operate on a fairly thin margin. And the number one criteria for a successful restaurant is almost always location. And as a location for a public business, this is not a good one. So I think some modest price increases on the menu would solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Ken?
So the amenities are part of the reason people move here, okay? And when we move here, we have all these nice things that frankly probably wouldn't exist if we were under the auspices of just the county. So we move here because we like the environment, we like the home that we bought, and we like the amenities. So, but the problem is we don't have the population density here to fully support a lot of these amenities. They cost money. And, you know, when you only have 5,000 people spread over, you know, several hundreds of acres, you just don't get that volume of business that you need. So and the people that originated this concept of the homeowners association realize that. So that's why you pay dues. Partially why you pay your dues is to support those amenities that you move here for in the first place. So I think I know it's detailed in our budget exactly how much each homeowner pays for these individual amenities. And if you once again, put it in perspective, it's not that much. So, and you get a lot for your money. We could raise our prices slightly, but then, you know, we might price ourselves out of the market. And then my time up?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Sue?
Sorry, I forgot the question already. Sorry.
The amenities don't break even, but our prices are low compared to nearby businesses. What will you do to adjust our pricing to meet market rates?
Oh boy. Yeah, I guess a small price increase, but as Ken mentioned, I think a couple others, is that our amenities are used by outside people. And they like them because I know people from Oakhurst that come here to eat at the Blue Heron because they like it. And I'm like, great for you. But I think you should pay more. I know Jonathan's working on that. You know, if we got a little card, maybe a 10 punch card that, okay, you bought 10 meals and your, 9 meals and your 10th one's free, or something to give back to the homeowners. I think that would help a little bit. But yeah, I think we need to raise them a little bit and maybe even add a little bit more stuff. I know people griped about the pizza kitchen. Okay, it's going to make money someday. Okay, fine. I'd like to see a frat machine. I'm tired of going to Xander's to go get, fraps. So, add a little bit more things out there so we're not driving to Xander's or go to McDonald's or that kind of crappy stuff. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Sue. Todd?
Yeah, I've always put that idea forth as well, as far as the homeowners, to give them a little break, or the seniors in the park, or seniors even outside the park. I mean, we're paying for it. The people outside aren't. I always thought we should have like some sort of an ID card or a stamp card to where we get like lower rates on certain things. We did for the golf. We get it for a couple of the other amenities. I don't know why we wouldn't get it for the food or the bar products. So a slight raise, I don't see a problem. I mean, I wouldn't raise something like the senior menu, because a lot of the seniors go there to get their, their inexpensive lunch, breakfast, sit there and they socialize and drink coffee, and they're on a fixed income. But to raise it a quarter and stuff, course, my son's a college student. He eats at them all the time. But he works at Hillside. He can afford a couple 50 cents more, and if not, he can hit me up for it. But yeah, I have no problem with a slight raise. I'm not sure how big of an impact it would have, but I have no problem with that. But like I said, I would like to see the homeowners get a little break as well. That's it. I yield.
Rebecca?
As a board member, we look up to our experts and our consultants to help us determine what is the right move to make. Our best consultant when you're discussing the restaurant are two amazing employees, Marty and Dave Pohl. They have worked in the industry. They understand the marketing. They understand so much about restauranting. So I will turn to them before I turn to somebody who says, oh, well, let's just raise the rates or let's just raise the menu. I have to look to them because they are our experts. We would not be doing our fiduciary responsibility if we just on our own just make a decision without looking to experts and getting what would be the best advice. It's easy to say, oh, we'll just raise the rates, but it isn't. There's more to it. Will it hit the market? What is the effect on the market nearby? We have a very special liquor license, which does mean we cannot do a rewards card in the normal sense that you're thinking of, but there are some regulations we have to work around. So yes, I will look to my experts, David and Marty Pohl. Thank you.
Kathy?
Hi, yes. For one, again, I would need a much more detailed budget report than we receive. Currently, this year in our budget report, it stated that we subsidized the Blue Heron $246,000 this year, $36,000 over budget. What I would want to know is where were the losses? I know that they grouped the Blue Heron with the grill. So which one of those two is causing the greater loss? Work with the things that are profitable. I remember in a recent meeting that Jonathan said that we actually made money on the Friday night at the lake. So yes, continue that. But look at the things where we're losing money. Are we, are we making more profit, less, and losing more money with the Blue Heron? Maybe we need to look at some things with the Blue Heron. And again, ask David. I think David is a fantastic chef. Anyway, so I would also ask, and with the Fairway Cafe, we also subsidized the Fairway $114,000 last year. Maybe look at the things that are profitable, things that are not profitable, see where we need to subtract some things. I also would agree with Randy. Maybe we need to increase some of the prices. I think some of the prices at the Blue Heron could be increased. We don't pay all that much for a hamburger. So maybe that would be more profitable. Okay.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, candidates, we've reached the end. Really want to say thank you very much for participating. It's really helpful to the community to hear from those that are anxious to get on the board. And thank you everybody else who joined. It's very encouraging to see the numbers of folks that joined to hear the candidates. Doesn't mean you need to stop asking them questions. And we go from here. You know, we have, yes, please vote. All my cohorts in the room are saying, vote, vote. Elections, your ballots, you should have received your ballots. They were mailed out Monday. And our first meeting, our annual meeting, will be held on July 12th at 1 o'clock. Am I right? All of a sudden I forgot. Yes, 1 o'clock on the 12th of July. We are requiring a 40% quorum on that meeting. And if we don't reach that quorum, it will be adjourned to July 21st at 7 o'clock. So please, please, please get your ballots in, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, make sure everybody gets their ballots in, and make sure you follow the directions on completing the ballots so that they're valid and can be counted.
And another thing, the ballots were mailed out according to the information that the association has. So if you didn't get your ballot, please come to the office or call the office so we can get you a ballot.
Okay, thank you all, and we'll be talking.
Thank you.
Thank you for the,
But
Thank you,
all the
Bill.
work, Andy, Doug, and David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
all right, I think it's over.